My amp unit! It is very early on this Tuesday morning, but I promised you guys a video on Tuesday, and damn it, I am a man of my word. If you guys don't know, or you've been living underneath a rock, you haven't checked the channel, which you should be already subscribed and notified, but I'm not your mother or father. I cannot tell you what to do. But if you didn't know, I already put up the Raw review before Raw even hit the airwaves last night. That's because Raw was taped days ago, as in last week, over in Manchester. And I saw what was on paper, I heard the rumblings from Manchester, and I knew this was an absolute complete shit show. So I decided to give you guys a spoilers review. First time ever. Looked like you guys really enjoyed that. That video really kicked ass. I want to thank every single one of you for tuning into that. Even though it was just a spoilers edition, I didn't even view the product. We got pretty amplified. And I was pretty furious, and I was pretty just drained by what I was reading. But I'm glad you guys liked it. And I promised you guys, just because I was putting that up early Monday, the Raw review, that you guys were still going to get a Tuesday video. Ta-da! Boom! There's the amplified man, right on cue, as I aforementioned and told you guys. I don't bullshit around. When I say I'm going to do something, we're going to do it. Full throttle, too, by the way. Few stories I'm going to get to today, guys. A little bit of Lana, Rusev, Bobby Lashley. What's the deal? I mean, has this thing gone just too far? Should we give it more of a chance? Why is it flopping and failing as much as it is? We claim we want storylines. They gave us one. Why are we acting this way? I'm gonna explain a lot during a little bit of talk about Lana, Rusev, and Bobby Lashley a little bit later on in this video. This won't be too long, by the way. You guys will be up and kicking your Tuesday's ass in no time. This is just a little bit of pro wrestling talk. I just want to talk about a bunch of subjects kind of together. So that's going to be a little bit later. I also want to talk about the fan that threw the water at MJF at Full Gear. I have some details on that, and it's exactly what we expected. I even have a name on who that person was, and we'll get to that, and a little bit of CM Punk Survivor Series talk. But I want to start off with a pretty hot topic right now around the wrestling world within the last 24 hours. That is Sin Cara. Sin Cara asked for his release. Is the big rumor that was going around. Then Sin Cara just put out a statement himself, pretty much abolishing the rumor. And now it became just straight fact. I mean, the guy straight out gave a statement about why he is asking for his WWE release. And he was cordial in it. This guy went out and thanked the WWE and the opportunities, but he feels he just wants to move on in life, and he feels kind of just stuck in place. He feels like, a prisoner at that point. So, I mean, those weren't his words. That's what the guy's basically saying, right? I mean, he's asking for his release. But what we are hearing, and this is really unfortunate, you hate hearing about this, but you've been hearing a lot more about this within the last year, and that's because AEW is now in effect, and WWE is not wanting its talents to go anywhere. So we're hearing that WWE will not grant or allow Sin Cara his release. So I know that's not a shock to a lot of you guys, but I can confirm that that is the latest report coming out of WWE, is they're not going to do it. It's the same situation or same deal with Luke Harper and most recently Mike Bennett. And we heard Rusev as well. There's still not a lot of details known about Rusev's situation. When he walked out, they granted him time for a bunch of reasons. But we're still hearing that the main thing was Rusev said he's not happy and he's out and he wants out. But with Rusev, there was other circumstances as well. But I think you can throw Rusev in that category. Same with Sasha Banks, too. I feel a lot of details are still not known, but I feel Sasha Banks absolutely wanted the fuck out, as in not just for a little bit, but wanted the fuck out. We'll never know. We do know there's a lot of superstars not happy, and they want out. Sin Cara is another one that publicly came out, publicly came out and said, I have asked for my release. I am now just waiting to be released. And again, it doesn't look like WWE is going to allow them. In Harper's case, he stayed home, and we heard that WWE did what's called freezing his contract, which means, hey, you can go home for 6 months or 6 years, but when you come back, you're fulfilling the 2.5 years you have left on your contract. So we're hearing that also Sin Cara would be in the same situation. Sin Cara has 3 years left on his contract, we're hearing. So if Sin Cara has 3 years left on his deal, that poor kid ain't going anywhere anytime soon. 3 years and you want out, that's basically a prison sentence, right? When you're somewhere for that amount of time and you want to get the fuck out, you don't want to be there, I don't know what you guys call it, but that's pretty much damn well prison, you know? And if he gets to sit at home during the time, then that's just house arrest. But, you know, this is one of those situations where WWE could just release him because it doesn't matter anyway. They're just going to do what they did with Doink the Clown or even Razor Ramon or Diesel. They own the name, so they're just going to come up with another Sin Cara. And I say this because this is already the second Sin Cara. You guys remember, what was it, guys? Was it like 2014 or 2015 when they had the original Sin Cara take off because he was just a botch master? So they had to come to terms with the fact that the guy just wasn't working. But Triple H founded the original Sin Cara, brought him to dominance there in WWE, or at least prominence. So Triple H, just like the old man, is so stubborn he wasn't willing to get rid of the idea. He didn't want to admit defeat. He didn't want to look like he just had a bad signing. So they just hired another guy, put him under the mask and gimmick and character, and they called the second guy Sin Cara. So that's all they're going to do anyway. No harm, no foul. Nobody really truly knows the guy underneath the mask on a worldwide status, so let the guy go. You're just going to make Sin Cara 3. It's like Rocky at this point. Sin Cara 3. I mean, that's all you're going to do. So what? Now it just comes down to this. It just comes down to WWE, and more specifically Vince McMahon, doing this out of two things. Fear of AEW actually getting him and making something out of him. And number two, just that power-hungry aspect that Vince McMahon always refuses to let go of. Right? Vince McMahon has this power hand that he plays. And it's almost like a game with him. Like, no, I have you under contract, so you're mine. And I don't care about a humanistic take on it, you know? I don't care if it's something that's going to help you mentally or help your family or make you happy again. I have you under contract, you're mine. You signed, that's it. But it's clear that they see no value in somebody like Sin Cara. It's clear he's no longer happy there. So a normal person would just sit down, have a long talk, and amicably go your separate ways. But Vince is not like that. We've seen it with names that I aforementioned, and maybe even many more names that we don't even know about within that locker room, that haven't spoken out publicly. But Vince McMahon likes to play that power hand, so I doubt he's going to let these people out of their contracts. Sin Cara would be the least of his worries, I would think. I would think somebody like Sin Cara would be an easy, okay, do your thing, best of luck. And they can get away with it. I don't see AEW going ballistic with somebody like Sin Cara, who by that point would have to have a new name and identity anyway. And let's be honest, Sin Cara wasn't a superstar in WWE anyway. But we just see how Vince McMahon plays his hand here. He's got the power-hungry hand, and on the other side of it, he's got the fear going on, where he is feeling the heat of AEW on his ass. So that's where we're at with the Sin Cara thing. I won't go any further in it. That's what we know, and that's what we see going forward. I really would like to hear within the next 7 days that Vince McMahon had a change of heart, and he's letting Sin Cara out of that contract. Because I think that's the right thing to do, you know? This isn't like This isn't like Daniel Bryan asking for a release, then you know, shit, this is severe consequences and repercussions on your very own company. This is going to come back to bite you in the ass with AEW around the corner. I understand somebody like Daniel Bryan. I understand somebody like Kevin Owens, Shinsuke. But when it's somebody like Sin Cara, this is a no harm, no foul situation. Nobody was happy. You weren't giving the guy the time of day. He's bouncing around in the Lucha Summer College house party. If this is all you have for a guy for 3 years and he cannot practice his craft to the skill level that he is capable of doing to the happiest degree, if he can't do that for the next 3 years, the guy doesn't want to do it. And if a dude's willing to sit on his fucking ass rather than go to work for you, there's an issue. Because it's obviously he loves performing. The rumor is that he actually wants to go to Alberto Del Rio or El Patron or whatever the fuck you want to call him. He wants to go to his fucking promotion. Where it's kind of like MMA, but they deal with some wrestlers. I mean, I think that would be a good fit for him. But it's all coming down to Vince's... It's all in Vince's jurisdiction. This guy just plays to his power-hungry hand, and if there's a little bit of competition, he seizes up that company, man, whether it's a expendable source or not. He'll seize that company up, man, and he is sealing that at all ends. Let's go to a little bit of AEW news here. The fan that threw water on MJF at Full Gear, as we all knew but now can confirm, was indeed a plant. I say we all knew because this was pretty obvious. MJF turned at the top of the ramp, went back right in front of the fan, stopped on what we call in the entertainment business, his mark. A mark is just where you're supposed to stop. He hit that dead on in front of the fan. The fan throws the water perfectly, and he had enough. This wasn't just like the end of a Coke or a little bit of a beer. This was a whole water perfectly thrown. And then the camera zooms on the guy. You never see that on a fan, right? I mean, a fan just threw something at your talent. You're not going to give them the time of day. And when they did that, you saw that it was a fan perfectly tucked in the corner at the end of the row, the very last fan, sporting a huge AEW lettering shirt. I mean, this just screamed plant. If you got a brain in your dome piece, you knew exactly what this was when it was happening. And you knew what it was, no matter what anybody said afterwards. AEW could say till they're blue in the face, that was a fan, we swear. No, it's not. That was a plant. Now we can just confirm it. We're actually even hearing that we have a name. That is, what is this dude's name? He's an indie talent. Alan Angels is the name that we are hearing. Alan Angels. So, we'll definitely make sure that matches up. But either way, it was absolutely a plant from AEW. It doesn't take a rocket scientist sometimes, folks, in this business to understand this. CM Punk, there's Survivor Series rumors, and for good reason. Very good reason. Well, everybody talks these CM Punk rumors for years now, and everyone's getting sick of them. Because, I am. But there's reason to believe that he could appear in some form or facet Survivor Series weekend. We hear that he admitted that he went for the FS1 backstage show hosted by Renee Young, Booker T, Christian Page. They're always on there. CM Punk confirmed that. I mean, that's getting back in bed with WWE. It just is, guys. You could say to your blue in the face, oh, it's not really working with WWE. It is too, guys. Do you honestly think Vince doesn't have any jurisdiction at all with that show? Do you think FS1 isn't in cahoots with him and talking to Vince about who they want or would like to get for the show, and Vince isn't talking at all with Fox? Do you think that's not happening? Do you think Vince has no say at all with CM Punk being on this show? Come on, guys. Again, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, folks. Think. Use that dome piece. If you got a couple 2-3 screws loose up in there, tighten that shit up. Think. Absolutely. This is him getting back in. But in case you were one of those people that deny it, no, this is just Fox. He'll have nothing to do with WWE. CM Punk then admitted that he is willing to answer the phone for Triple H and Vince McMahon. He is willing. This is his words. He is willing to pick up the phone. He just doesn't know why he always has to be the one to reach out to people. If people want to do business, these are his words. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. But he said this in multiple interviews. If people want to reach out, he's willing to listen. He will pick up that phone. And this is directly a question about WWE, not just anybody. He is willing to do. Put the pieces of the puzzle together, guys, and you will have the finished masterpiece. The guy has said numerous times, confirmed, that he absolutely went for the FS1 job backstage for WWE and that it went well. Then he said numerous times in many interviews that he is willing to do business with WWE again. So the only people now that are pissed off is the CM Punk fans that actually believed him and thought that he was being serious when he said he don't ever see himself going back. But who was the one guy in the community that said you will see CM Punk back in WWE one day? I'll give myself a couple pats. His name is the Amplified Man. That would be me. I said that, didn't I? I did, because I know how the business works. I've seen how much friction Vince McMahon once had with Hulk Hogan, but he came back. The friction with the Ultimate Warrior, but he came back. Macho Man Randy Savage, that was really deep. That was on such a personal level. But finally, yes, it sucks that it was after he had passed, but finally Macho Man was indeed inducted into the Hall of Fame. You can go on and on. Steve Austin walked out on the company at his heightened fucking prominence. Vince McMahon still obviously took him back. There are so many cases that I can talk about. The whole Diesel and Razor Ramon thing, they come back. CM Punk would have been no different. Time heals all wounds. I think Punk even said something to that effect, but that's a quote I use all the time. Time honestly heals all wounds. And you grow and you mature and things don't mean as much in the future as they did in the past. And no matter what happened on your wedding day. And Punk even said that. Punk said, yes, that sucked and nobody wants that on their wedding day. But he's moved on and he's matured and he sees the role that, these are again his words, he sees the role that he played in that locker room. He says that now looking back at it, being more mature, he can see why people saw him walking in the locker room and turn the other way like, oh, here comes that guy. Because Punk admitted he had a bad attitude. So now that he's grown, he's willing to do business again. I told you guys that was going to happen because I've seen this over the last 30 years watching this business. I don't say this shit just to sound super smart or to think I know it all. I say it to educate anybody listening of what's going to happen because history always repeats itself. I say this shit not for my health, I assure you. Probably taking months off my life at this point. Hooting and hollering this shit. But I say it because I know what's going to happen. Even if Punk went to AEW a couple of pay-per-views ago when they were in Chicago, I still stand by my words. He still would have ended up in WWE. This just looks like it's happening sooner than later. I think Cody heard something. When they found out that CM Punk definitely wasn't going to be in Chicago a couple of AEW pay-per-views ago, and Cody actually publicly said, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if he returns to WWE. That was Cody's quote. So Cody was hearing something. And then a few weeks later, we heard that CM Punk absolutely, and he confirmed it, went out for that backstage WWE show on Fox. So anyway, where is this all leading to? My point is Survivor Series is in Chicago. Rosemont, I believe it's called the Allstate Arena. Rosemont isn't that the border of Chicago or... It's in fucking Chicago, let's be honest. You know what I mean? I don't care if it's a mile down the road or smack dab in Chicago. It's in Chicago. Renee Young has been teasing this big guest for a couple of weeks now. This big guest has yet to appear. So I met last week somebody showed up. I forgot who it was. And everybody was teasing Renee like that was the big guest. And Renee goes, oh no. The big guest I'm talking about is much bigger than this or that. I'm like, oh shit. She's hyping this thing up big. We've yet to see it. we're less than a couple of weeks away from Survivor Series. Either CM Punk shows up at Survivor Series in the arena, a little fucking quick hello. I'm not saying he's going to wrestle or anything, but a little fucking appearance, and then he goes to the backstage show, or they just have him on WWE backstage. But don't be shocked or surprised if CM Punk arrives back in WWE in some way, even if it's just WWE backstage. Don't be surprised if he shows up Survivor Series weekend in Chicago. You heard it first here, folks. That's not confirmed. I'm just saying at least now these rumors have some validity to them. And all the facts are leading up to it's inevitable. It's going to happen at some point real soon. Much sooner rather than later. Now let's talk a little bit of Lana, Lashley, and Rusev. There's two questions in a storyline, right? Every storyline should have two questions answered by creative, not by the fans. Creative, when they're putting together a storyline, have to ask themselves two things. Where is it going? And do we care? Will your audience care? Those are the two questions. Where is it going? Will the audience care? Now, think about Lana. You think about Rusev, and you think about Bobby Lashley. You think about how many weeks this thing has been dragging on. And you think about, are we any better now than we were when it first started? Sometimes stories take a minute to unfold. It takes a while for an audience to get invested into a story sometimes. I get it. The best stories, you're connected right from the get-go, right from the jump. Those type of stories jump off the page, and they're just so beautifully done that we're captivated from the jump. But some stories just take a minute. So we let this thing evolve over several weeks. But here we are, over a month later. Are we any better now today than we were the very first week that this story started? I think if we're all being honest with ourselves and truthful, the answer is no. We're not any better. In fact, I think we've gotten even worse with how we feel about this story. So right there, the do we care and the where is it going, both those questions are answered emphatically. When we are screaming out, boring. When we are screaming out, bullshit. When the boos are so deafening. When everyone on social media is asking and begging, can we please move on from this? That's when you know it's not working. And guys, this isn't hating on it, because when you go back to when this story first broke, the first few weeks, I told you in those review videos of Raw, I'm down with this. I'm down with the story. I'm happy that they're giving us a story. That is a start for that company. I just said now they have to get super creative and get us invested. Because right from the jump, Rusev, a guy who's been gone for a while and you haven't given anything to him when he was there, him involved in this with Bobby Lashley, who's been there. He hasn't been off and you haven't given him anything. Right from the jump, people are not going to be captivated. So it's up to you to get super creative. And the best they have is Lana making out with Bobby Lashley every week. We've already seen them even get their hands on one another, right? We've seen at Crown Jewel. They were going to blows with one another. Last night, again, Rusev winds up on his ass and Bobby Lashley rushes Lana to the back and then they kiss some more. We're starting to see the same redundant shit. And that's what I said about Shayna Baszler, Becky Lynch, and Bayley even. And that's a matchup I'm looking forward to at Survivor Series. But if you're just going to have Shayna Baszler running in for the next 2 weeks, attack Becky in the ring, attack Bayley in the ring, show up on Raw, attack Becky, show up on SmackDown, go for Bayley. It's going to be redundant. And by the time we get to Survivor Series, we're just not going to care because you ran it into the ground. I hope this makes sense. That's what's happening with this storyline. They were all proud of themselves. We have a storyline. And then they didn't know where they were going with it. Right? They started taking it week by week. Instead of having this thing planned out for the next 2 months, this is the best they have, week by week. We'll just have them go out there. Well, this week we'll have Lana say she's pregnant, and Bobby Lashley will attack Rusev. And then when she goes up the ramp, she'll say, ha ha, he believed I was pregnant. And then they kiss, and then they'll go out. And then next week, what? She's pregnant again with twins this time, and then it was all just a farce. Or does she say she's pregnant with Bobby Lashley's kid and Rusev attack? Who cares? That's the second part of the question. Are we gonna care? It's evident that after 6 weeks of this shit, or going on, nobody cares. It's done. You tried it, it failed. This isn't even a fickle audience. People like me were willing to give this a chance. I was happy to see my boy Lashley getting it in. I had to cringe a little bit for Rusev, man, because that is his real life girl. You never want to see your real life girl kissing anybody, but you got to give it up and give some props to our boy Lashley. So I was willing to roll with this thing. But as time went on, come on, man. I mean, this has to go somewhere. I'm at least glad that last night on Raw, they didn't have it as the last segment. That's what they did a few times. They made that their main story, and we were like, what the fuck? But then again, when you look at the ending last night with Randy Orton just talking some shit to Ricochet, last week he's RKOing Ricochet. This week they're like best buddies in a tag team, and Randy Orton's just like, just watch out, because I can hit you out of nowhere. And Ricochet's like, I know. Like a father talking to his fucking kid, and that's how Raw ends. So maybe it wouldn't have mattered if Lana, Rusev, and Lashley ended Raw last night, but I was at least happy that it didn't. But it doesn't make it any better. So for anybody thinking, oh, we want stories, they give us one and we're shitting on it. Well, ask yourself why. Yes, we want stories. The first couple of weeks of that storyline was hideous. But we still were okay with it, most of us, because we were happy they were giving us a story. And we were hoping that they were going to evolve it. Here we are weeks after that, they haven't evolved shit. It looks like it's just regressing. And they're running it into the ground like everything else they do. How many weeks do you guys want me to give this a chance before I finally have to say, okay, I can only give you so many lifelines. This has to end now. Because nobody is excited to see Lashley versus Rusev. And isn't that the whole point? At the end of the day, you want a big match between the two participants in the story. Nobody gives a fuck, guys. This is a failure. It has nothing to do with being fickle. It has nothing to do with people saying they wanted one thing and then getting it and now wanting a different thing. No. This is just giving it a chance, and it flopped. Things are gonna flop. WWE needs to create many storylines. And if they are doing this the right way, they should have 4 to 5 storylines always ongoing. On each show. SmackDown's 2 hours, I get it. So 3 to 4 big storylines. Raw should absolutely, bare minimum, have 4 to 5. 1 or 2 might flop, no question. 2 or 3 are gonna be fucking epic, hopefully. SmackDown, 1 or 2, maybe won't really connect, but you'll at least have 2 that are intriguing and captivating us. That's what I mean. If you're doing this correctly, you can have some mulligans because you're gonna give us enough every week. With Raw's 3 at least good ones and SmackDown's good ones 2 at least, you're gonna have 5 storylines between the 2 that we are fucking invested into. And we are looking forward to seeing what's next. But all they've done is they give us 1. That's all they have. They're putting all their fucking... They're putting all the fucking candy into one jar, and then when that jar gets taken away, they're gonna have nothing left. And that's what they're doing. I think they realize it's flop, but I know that they know they have nothing else. They have nothing to fall back onto. They fucked up yet again. They put all their eggs into that basket. That basket is now fucking... It's rotting away. They have no other basket. They have no eggs. They have no eggs or basket. So even if they have the eggs, they don't have the basket to put it into. And if they had a basket, there's nothing to put in there. They have nothing. And that's where we sit. So hopefully that's, a lot of you guys want my thoughts more in detail after last night, but if you saw my Raw review video or spoilers video, I went over what they had planned last night, and I told you how tragic it was going to be. Now we're doing the whole pregnancy, who's your daddy shit, and then she says, no, oops, psych, just kidding. And we're supposed to be like, wow, can't wait to see what happens next week between Lashley and Lana. That's great that they tried a storyline. They need to try a lot of storylines, and they have to get creative. With 726 writers, they are all complete bums. This company is no better with 726 writers than they were with one writer, Vince Russo, or Ed Ferreira's too. You can add him in there when Vince was with Ed. But put Ed aside. Fuck Ed. Who cares? Vince Russo himself could write better television than the 726 bums. Whether you like Vince Russo or not personally, I understand. Whether you think he destroyed WCW and would have WWF too, that's your prerogative. I'm saying Vince Russo can write better wrestling than WWE's 726 current writers. He could take something so Jerry Springer-ish with Lana, Rusev, and Lashley. Vince Russo could take that and he could mold that into something that we would actually give a shit about, or at least talk about in a much more brighter way. Russo has that capability. Russo had a way to take something so fucking stupid, but make it interesting. I'll always give him that credit. I feel when he got the WCW, his ego was off the charts. He had that huge money contract. People in WCW were kissing his ass because he was the guy that wrote all the Attitude Era storylines. And I feel he started to insert himself in the storylines because his ego was so inflated. I don't think he gave two flying fucks over in WCW. But when he was at his best and he knew how to work around McMahon and get what he wanted out of McMahon, even when McMahon was saying no to him, Russo knew how to go to war, so to speak, with Vince. And at the end of the day, we had a damn good product for years under Vince Russo's writing. Now you have 726 Hollywood writers. 14 of them maybe have watched pro wrestling, and those 14 don't know how to fucking write if their life depended on it. They graduated some fucking little writing school class, or got a little degree. They were the nephew of some big Hollywood director or some shit, so they became a writer with some credits under their name, and before you know it, Vince was like, wow, you did these indie films? You're hired. You said you watched pro wrestling for 6 years? Hired. These clowns don't know what the fuck they're doing. Anyway, I said this wasn't going to be a long video and you guys can go about your Tuesday. Here I am making a fucking half-an-hour video anyway. I'll let you guys kick ass. I promised you guys a Tuesday video. Of course I'm going to deliver. I love you guys, man. You're my amp unit. La Familia, baby. And we go fucking full throttle. You guys know this. I hope to have some type of thing tomorrow. Some video, some impromptu. I can't guarantee it. Got a lot to do. But I hope to. Right before AEW and NXT, I like to put a little something out to you guys. But just in case there isn't, I'll see you guys Thursday morning when I put NXT on USA with AEW on TNT. And we see who won the night. I know, BC, it's not about competition. We're the winners, BC. Ratings don't even matter, BC. Okay, dipshit, yes they do actually. Ratings absolutely matter. They tell you who's watching what and who's not watching the other. How many more people are watching this and how many are not watching that. It tells you every demographic. It tells you everything, idiot. Ratings are everything. Who the fuck are you to tell me they're not nothing? Just because you're winning, it doesn't matter the ratings. Let's just watch. No, you watch. You go trade Capri Suns with Braun Strowman. You go outside and make a snow fucking man. A snow family. Make snow angels. You go and play Red Rover, said Jimmy Delwig over with your fucking friends. I don't know who Jimmy Delwig is, but maybe that's a buddy of yours. You go and be a little fucking toddler. I'm a big boy who's gonna look at the numbers because it's telling me where the trajectory of both companies are headed. Numbers mean everything for smart people. For dumb people, they don't mean anything. Because we're winning. We get to watch pro wrestling. Don't worry about the numbers, guys. Let's just all watch. I get people telling me that all the time. Whenever I talk numbers, some idiot feels the need to actually type out a BC, I don't even care about the numbers. I'm just watching pro wrestling action finally that I like. Okay. Awesome, dipshit. Now go back and do that. Stop commenting and go fucking sit on your couch and wait for mommy to make your cheese macaroni. I'm going to do big boy things like dissect the numbers and see where these companies are headed. Because ratings put companies out of business. If you think TNT and USA Network are going to allow a company that makes 200,000 or 300,000 viewers only weekly on their TV for Wednesday nights, it ain't gonna happen. And then you're gonna come back to the Amplified, man, and go, wow, I can't believe USA booted NXT. Or AEW booted TNT. And I will say, well, idiot, if you had known that they were only pulling in 250,000 viewers every week for the past 6 months, you would have known they were getting the boot. Woo! The Amplified Man's just getting started now, baby. Now we're really about to rock the day. Nobody in NYC is safe now, because I'm rocking this shit out. The Amplified Man, you guys do the same. I'll see you in the morning. Woo! Check you later.